During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about trying to get corn ears to be the same size on every plant throughout the field. How can you do that?
Well, one of the things that I see every corn harvest, there's a farmer that'll come to me and have a great big ear, and he'll say, Darren, what kind of yield do you think I'm going to get in my whole field? Well, judging by the one ear, it looks like 350 bushel corn to me. Does every ear in the whole field look like that? Well, no, that's kind of one of the nicer ones, and then there's some little ones and some short ones and maybe even a barren stalk here and there. Well, that is no way to estimate yield. Why don't we just focus on trying to get every plant to make that great big ear?
So one of the things that we've known for decades now is if you get all the plants to emerge at exactly the same time, then the ear size will be fairly similar.
And if they're spaced out, if the plants are spaced just perfectly as well. And that's one of the things that we see a lot. Now that uneven emergence is definitely a piece, and we'll talk about that a little more. But if your planter's not dropping that seed evenly and you're getting a lot of doubles and triples, with modern technology now and the things you can add to your planter and the monitors and so forth, there's just no excuse for it anymore. We've got to do a better job.
No. There's lots of excuse for it. It's really, well, seriously.
There are lots of excuses.
Think about it. You're dropping thousands of plants. You get a 24-row planter, you're dropping thousands of seeds out there every minute.
Especially if you're going to run 10 miles an hour with a high-speed planter.
Well, it doesn't matter, even if you're running 4. The point is you're throwing lots of seed out. So I wouldn't go that far to say there's no excuse for it. There is, because we don't have good enough equipment yet to make it perfect. Let's say you were going to run over something that's this uneven, like what we're standing in right now. That's never going to work. So it goes hand in hand with how a farmer sets himself up in the fall, how you get set up in the spring, and then trying to reduce compaction as much as possible, make that good seed bed and everything else. But the big thing I wanted to focus on, I want to come back to that emergence. So yes, the spacing is important and all that, and I agree. But one of the things we tried this year that I wanted to talk about today is mowing off the tops of crops. And here's why. So I just said a minute ago, we've known this for decades, that, hey, if a plant comes up, let's say it's 1 leaf behind or 2 leaves behind, it comes up a few days later, or maybe a couple weeks later, then that plant that comes up behind will have a much, much smaller ear. So my thought was, well, is it really because it came up behind? Or is it just because the plant that's come up later is shaded out? So we thought, let's just run a little experiment at Ag PhD. So what we did is we mowed off plants where we had uneven planting depth and uneven emergence, just as an experiment. And unfortunately, the ears still turned out exactly like they would have before, at least we believe they did. And we saw that uneven ear size. So just evening the plant up later on, this was even at, I think, V5 or so, we evened the plants up, didn't work. So the point is, if you want even ears, you've got to have even emergence.
Well, it is really important. And even if you do get those things perfect, if you're in a dry land environment where there may be unevenness for moisture out in the field, you're going to see some uneven emergence too. So it's just really important as you head into the next planting season that you look at your equipment, that you go through your planter, that you be really fussy as you're doing the planting. I know we had some areas this past year in 2020 where farmers would call us and say, man, I'm not seeing moisture till I get down to 2 inches. Should I put my soybeans in another ½ inch deep? In many cases, the answer is yes. If you don't have moisture in the forecast, you may have to plant just a little bit deeper to get into some of that moisture in order to avoid that unevenness. But if you say, well, I'm going to stay with my 1.5 inch depth that I normally run it with, and parts of the field are going to be in moisture, parts of the field are not, you're certainly going to see uneven emergence.
Okay, when you have this uneven emergence, it's not a real big factor in terms of overall yield. That's the good thing. Is it a factor though? Yes. So to absolutely maximize yield, that's why we talk about the even plant spacing, the even emergence, and then ultimately, like with corn, the even ear size.
And one thing you don't even want to see out in your field is our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?